Reputation. And if I'm understanding correctly, you value the importance of making sure the people around you are fed, because ultimately that's part of your legacy. That's part of that thing
Yeah,
that will earn the respect.
I think that's what being a boss is. I think being a boss, you got to eat last. You eat
Mm.
last. A lot of people don't understand that about being a boss and being and running an outfit. Um, you eat last. You fix everybody else's plate, and then you eat last. That's really a part of being a boss that a lot of people miss out on. They think being a boss is you just call the shots and you tell everybody what to do and blah 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 blah. No, Decompose gets paid first. Shabazz the disciple gets paid first. Svet the violinist, he gets paid first. Solomon Childs, he gets paid first. And then we feed ourselves at the end of the day. So, I mean, I think a lot of times people forget that. You know what I mean? People want to shout out, boss, I'm a boss, I'm a boss, I'm a boss. But then when it's time for payroll, people don't want to be a boss. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So it's a excuse me, it's a rewarding thing. Like I say, at the end of the day, I wanna cut $1 million check. I want to cut $1 million check to Decompose. I want to cut $1 million check to Shabazz the disciple. I want to cut $1 million check to Solomon Child. You understand what I'm saying? Because
Wow.
look, when I cut them that $1 million check, what that mean I'm getting?
Oh shit. I hear you, man. I love the way you're speaking it. Cause yo, I think a lot of people maybe don't get the opportunity to be exposed to that kind of thinking. But when you really think about it practically, um, no nobody's gonna stick with you if you're just taking from them, right? Everybody can everybody can find a manipulator in this world. And if you look, just to go a little local with it, I'm going to say that a lot of marketing practices that I see employed by people, I'm not going to say names, it's not important, but a lot of marketing practices I see take money from the artist to support like everything else. And that would be my biggest
Do that.
grievance with things at home, is I would wish that we all thought in a way that was a little bit more, how do artists get paid? And again, there are people doing it, and there are tons of people making moves. It's never to take away from the fact that it's active efforts. It's just that would be my diagnosis if I were to be asked. So to hear you say the literal most important part to you is to get artists paid is fucking huge for me, because it's like almost like validating some of the things I'm fucking with and how I'm thinking about this. Like my dream for this platform is be doing this Twitch thing, right? I don't have it yet. I don't have the following. But let's say I'm making $500 in tips on this shit. I'm going, yo, Beast, I'm sending you $250 after. That's the way
Right,
I want to make this platform happen, so that motherfuckers are incentivized to help build me. Because if you
right,
know that fucking with me is going to make you look good, then why the
right.
fuck wouldn't you want to line up and come
Hey,
join
I
this
need
shit?
it. I need it. My son needs some knee pads. He needs some new shoes. He need a new singlet. You know what I'm saying? I need it. But I feel you. I know what you're talking about. And it's just a beautiful thing. Like I say, my dream is to cut Decompose $1 million check. My dream is to cut Shabazz the disciple $1 million check. You understand what I'm saying? Solomon Childs, we in negotiations right now. I don't know if anybody have heard, excuse me, Solomon Child's first project we executive produced for him, and that was Solomon Child's greatest hits. He's a Killer B official. He's actually Ghostface Killer's cousin or nephew. I can't remember, but we in negotiations right now for Solomon Child's Greatest Hits Volume 2. He has an extensive catalog, and what we do on his Greatest Hits situation is we extract all of the best of his tracks, and then we put out another volume 2 LP. And I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to come to terms. I got to make a trip out there to Shaolin. Those who don't know, Shaolin is Staten Island, New York. I gotta make a trip up there and talk to him and sit down, and we're gonna come to terms. I have no doubt about it that we're gonna come to terms.
That's amazing. I mean, I think it's pretty fucking cool that you're able to just say things like, I'm gonna go to Shaolin and hang out with a Wu affiliate. Like, I'm gonna be real with you. There's the geeky kid in me that's like, ha, that's like the real Wu Tang clan. Like, that's what it
That's
feels like hearing that.
Okay, I met Solomon Childs. I'll tell you a quick story. I met Solomon Childs one time. I was out on the road. I was out with Bronze Nazareth actually, and we went to Indianapolis. because his I guess I don't know if you want to call manager or his liaison was out there in Indianapolis, and we went out there and we was all staying in the hotel. And actually, I went out. I be on that coffee heavy when I'm out on the road. I be out on that coffee heavy. And Solomon Childs was at the little coffee kiosk too. And so we just started kicking it, and Blase Splee, boom, he was going back to his room because he had his little bird down there, you know what I mean, his wifey. And but we ended up kicking off a relationship, and I'm talking about a agape relationship. No funny shit. But we ended up kicking off a relationship, and we got that Solomon Childs Part 2. Solomon Childs Greatest Hits Volume 1 popped off. We ended up consolidating that deal, and like I say again, I think we in verbal negotiations right now, but it's a process. I don't know if you know, but it's a process in terms of coming to terms and formalizing.
So all I can say about that is at my day job, I have been trying to partner with other companies to sign some contracts recently to get tools. So we're talking like, in theory, they're 5-figure deals for these companies, which means both sides of lawyers got involved. And I learned what legal was about.
Yeah.
Sorry? And it was legal.
You have to have paperwork involved. Some people don't like paperwork, but really, you have to have that paperwork involved. It's unfortunate, but when you have the paperwork involved and it's formalized, it's a situation where you have a roadmap on how you're getting to where you're going. And so
I like
it's
that.
a situation where if you forget 5 months, 6 months from now, what the terms were, you just go back to that paperwork and say, this is what we agreed to. You understand?
I do. And in my experience looking into this, a lot of times it's the lack of paperwork that can cause some troubles, especially when big money came in. But all I know is,
don't do it. I'm telling you, don't do it. Don't make a move until that paperwork is signed.
but also I learned get lawyers to read that paperwork, because that I read the terms and conditions, right? And I thought I understood shit. And then the lawyer was like, this is shady, this is shady. And then you like read the sentences and you look at what the lawyer said, and you're like, wow, if I had agreed to it as written, there was a clause in his contract that said, technically, if we damage their reputation by their perception, we'd have to pay them. And I'm like, whoa, that's a weird clause, no?
Right there, yeah, you got to be careful with that.
So my boss ended up going, no, we're not signing that deal. And I was like, that's so interesting, because like, how often do you really sit there and get to like think about what lawyers, but I imagine signing a deal like that, it's where you get to that part where it really starts to slow down, when you get to the terms and you figure it out. So that's what I was trying to bring it back to that. So I imagine that's where it becomes a process, right?
Yeah, it's a process.